Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Big hints last night as to what rostermania announcements we can expect just around the corner, with FaZe Drazah a likely possibility, but also Sib with an interesting cryptic tweet as usual. I still can't really figure out what he means when he tweets this type of stuff, but probably rostermania related. Very much intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. Our team racing driver here in the competitive Call of Duty scene, our resident racing driver Crimsix, giving some congratulations to Dana Ricardo for getting back on the Formula 1 grid you guys might have seen yesterday. First of all though, we've got to do a follow-up on all the drama that went down on this WxC female league. Effectively, you guys might have seen that Belle here got banned for player conduct, and it was difficult to tell exactly why. I believe she'd played and potentially won the previous season. I'm not so familiar with all the storylines here, so you'll have to forgive me a little bit for trying to catch up on this now, but you know, she was talking about how the admin behaviour was effectively criminal, and they'd wanted to get rid of her. They had low patience with her because of last season, and there's various reasons why they've effectively got rid of her from the league, and well, they come up with an official statement. So nice little graphic here. We're compelled to make a public statement despite our initial intention to keep the matter private, and this is where it begins here with a nice little Google document. If you're going to do a 6-page doc, give me a little TLDR, you know what I mean? But anyway, this is what they come out with. We'd like to address recent events that have compelled us to make a public statement despite our initial intention. Okay, we saw that bit. The incident in question occurred where Belle resigned from the tournament during its course, I believe then with the intention to return. After resigning, it was brought to our administration team's attention that messages containing transphobic content were attributed to her. We uphold and prioritise values of inclusivity, respect, equality, and you know, discrimination, hate speech of any kind is not tolerated under any circumstances. So, you know, they're obviously within their rights to uphold their rules, and if certain players break those terms, then absolutely they're within, you know, it's their prerogative to make those decisions. However, we never get to see any screenshots of this, so, you know, what they consider to be transphobic content that were attributed to her. They say that by request of confidentiality, we will not be leaking private messages. However, all of our admin team has seen and verified the submissions. They wish to stay anonymous to avoid Belle attacking the submitter. So as I say, it's their prerogative to do what they like here within their own league, but it's like if you're going to say certain comments are pretty, you know, it's quite the statement to say about whatever those comments are, but we don't get to see them. It's like, well, you know, it's interesting, no? And then they go through all the misconducts that have occurred over the last several days separate to what we just saw, and eventually they come to the decision to kick her out the league, basically. So they changed the rules, but they pretty much say that the reason why she's not being kicked out because of that particular rule change. Maybe that rule change was intended just to, you know, have a good reason to do so, but there were various other reasons why they're kicking her out of the league. So that's basically where it is. In closing, we pride ourselves offering players the opportunity to sign up at no cost with no contractual obligations, and the league is a good idea in theory. It's just been executed in such a way that drama feels inevitable, and it is inevitable. There's going to be more stuff in this, I'm sure. Every few weeks there's some sort of talking point around this league, so we'll probably have to stay tuned in it. I doubt this is the last we're going to see of this, but that's the update from the league I wanted to share for you guys today. Let's dive into then this I thought was pretty interesting from Jacob Hale. There's an event, I'm guessing an Apex event going on right now in London, and I know a lot of us UK fans would like there to be another event in London at some point. It's been since February 2020, right at the start of February 2020, before the pandemic happened. There was the last event in London. The actual good one was in 2019 though, when the CWL was still around. But as JKL says, ironically, even if London moved to North Carolina or to Charlotte, it won't change the chances of that happening. Now, that's probably because it's still zero either way, because London don't want to host one. But I still think, for example, Raleigh, this season we had Major 1 in Raleigh, and the World Championship was in Vegas. Now, yes, there is a Vegas team, but it's possible for the CDL to put events on that are separate from team locations. If it's a normal major, then it will be hosted by a team, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's impossible for the league to say, all right, you know what, we will do an event in London here for the kickoff or for the World Championship or something. They could make that call. So, you know, I'm hoping that's the case. I'm very doubtful that's the case though, unfortunately. There's also this in terms of teams moving. We saw yesterday this account had been found, the Vancouver Surge, possibly getting ready for a rebrand. It was an account that was only made a few days ago, and Surge talk about this, where I have exclusive Surge fan club, and Jake Hell says, as a Seattle native, obviously it's not right, so it's just a joke, I would love to support my local team and join the fan club. As a proud Seattle resident, we're so lucky to have you in Seattle. So it's pretty obvious what he's getting at here, right, in terms of it's not going to be in Seattle that much longer. They're talking about Seattle and the fan club locally, but yeah, Seattle is probably going to move to Vancouver, and Jacob L seems to believe that is the case. This is the tweet from Sib then. There's actually no words to decipher here, but I just thought it was very interesting to tweet this at the present time, given the circumstances in which this photograph was taken. So yeah, it's a great pic. Sib's looking good. Here he is up on the main stage, and you might not think there's much more to it, but this is the World Championship, right? We can see it says, you know, Championship 2023 in the background. This is the main stage of champs, OpTic versus Surge, the series where Seattle Surge eliminated OpTic from the tournament. They went on to get top 3. OpTic fell out top 4, not the result they were looking for. And look, at the end of the day, Sib is probably joining the sublane as the team that went on to win the event, but there was a chance for him to go to OpTic, and I wonder if that's kind of what he's getting at here. I know there's been some theories about that he was in the conversation to join OpTic, but they never really looked at him that much. They wanted Drazah OpTic, right? He's now gone to FaZe. We'll see more of that in a second. And after that, they went for Kenny. Crone did say that Sib was in the picture. It was for sure a possibility. And honestly, for a large part of this season, many OpTic fans were saying, all right, Sib, Pred, and then Dashy and Shotzzy, right? That's your team of 4. Give it a go for next season. All of a sudden, the Drazah thing, I think the Drazah thing would have made a lot of sense for OpTic. It couldn't work out. He decides to go to FaZe, as I say. We've got some hints about that in a second. And then they need a replacement in that role. And you'd have thought that Pred, having played with Sib, would have a rather good idea and also have some rather important words to say to the rest of his team on whether he feels like that's a good idea or not. Clearly, Pred either hasn't spoken as highly of Sib for the role they need within that OpTic team to bring him along, or they just think Kenny's straight up a better fit from all perspectives, is our current understanding of what the roster's going to be. And therefore, maybe what Sib's getting at is like, look, you guys turn me down type thing, and I'm going to go to another team and try and do a great job. And this is what happened at the World Championship when we matched up. So yeah, very interesting. I mean, look, Pred and Sib have knocked OpTic out of the World Championship for the last 2 years in a row, as have Mack and Accuracy, right? Also on that roster, but it's going to be a very different story from now on. There was also this from OpTic themselves. So they go out for a nice team dinner here. We've got JP Krez, we've got Roger, we've got Zinni, Hex, Maniac, Scump, and Shotzzy. Now, Dashy is back home in Canada for the time being, but there was some talking points, as you might expect, looking at the amount of seats, right? So there's one opposite Hex, then there's this one here, then there's this one here. So there's like 3 seats that aren't taken, or that you can't see who's in the seats. Someone's taking the photo, right? And then people are like, oh, well, have they told like Pred and Kenny just to get out the way type thing, just to not appear in the photo? I'm not sure that's necessarily the case here, to be honest, but it is always an interesting idea that before the announcements rein in, the players and the teams are together. Now, I don't know exactly where Pred is, because I think he did a tweet as if he was in Australia a few days ago, so he might have gone back for a little while, and I think he might be getting back to the US at some point, because he did the tour of the States after the World Championship. Not exactly sure where Pred is right now. Kenny, I'm guessing, is still in LA, because, I mean, he was there after champs. He's been streaming a lot, so if you guys have been watching his streams, let me know where he is based out of, because I'm pretty sure he's still from LA at the moment. So it's not like he can't travel to Texas to prepare some sort of announcement, but you know, it doesn't feel like it's going to be immediate if that is the case, despite the fact that the contract apparently has now been signed and locked in with Kenny, or at least the terms have been agreed, and the contract will be signed over the coming days. We have the contract signing gift from Drazah. We don't necessarily have it yet from Kenny, but you know, we believe this is now going to be the case. Now, the question has been for me, why are we not seeing more announcements yet? The only official announcement we have, this is 3+ weeks after the World Championship, is Snoopy going back to Boston. The top teams know what they're doing, and we're pretty confident that that's the case, but until the contract is signed and the announcement is official, you can never be 100% sure that it's going through. But Drazah and FaZe are probably getting very close to this being the case, especially because of this that came through last night. So Drazah says, photo shoot today, and obviously we've got some purple in the background, so people are like, oh, Toronto Ultra, here we go, but I doubt doubt that's going to be the case, let's be honest. So it's an interesting timing, right? He signs the contract a few days ago. A few days later, he's got some sort of photo shoot coming up. I can't imagine what this could possibly be related to, especially when we then get this from Gersh, right? Social guy over at FaZe. First time directing something for FaZe today. Living out my dreams. You're a great mentor at ShawDoc. So really cool stuff. And hopefully Gersh did a great job and can, you know, do some great things like this over time. But you got to say, it's rather coincidental timing, is it not? That here's Gersh directing his first shoot or whatever. Obviously we can see the lighting up here for some sort of camera work and photography or videography, right? And at the same day, we have Drazah talking about a photo shoot today. And also, if we zoom in here, this is what I thought was pretty funny, that if you zoom in, so obviously the picture taker has tried to prevent you seeing the subject of these photos. But if we zoom all the way in, you can see this, which is a little corner of the subject of the photo's head. And looking at the hairstyle here, the type of hair, like the way it's styled, the eyebrow, the line at the side of the face. I mean, look, this could be anyone, kind of, but like, could you imagine this is Drazah? You probably could, right? Like, this could definitely be Drazah, right? I know it's only a small little snippet, but it kind of looks like it could be Drazah, especially like, okay, this is what his hair was looking like on the day. There's definitely a possibility this is Drazah here that has been slightly unearthed. You guys remember when Shotzzy was joining OpTic, and in the backgrounds of one of the process, or was it the Eavesdrop podcast, right? In the background of the Eavesdrop podcast, you could see Shotzzy for like 1 or 2 frames, and people noticed it, and then it was kind of revealed that, oh, Shotzzy's in the hex quarters, here we go. So it might be another similar thing like that, and we can expect that to get some announcements on this over the coming days, I would think. But OpTic sometimes take their time if those guys aren't even in the country necessarily, and Dashy's back in Canada for some time, so if they're going to do anything related to him, it might take a little bit of time to make that happen. FaZe, we're thinking they might be sooner rather than later, and then the other dominoes, I imagine, are going to fall into place as well. But as soon as the other teams know what these guys are doing, then they can start really figuring out what their rosters are going to be. I do wonder what happens to players like JoeDeceives, because I think he was a pretty good fit, to be honest, on the Los Angeles Guerrillas squad. Did a pretty good job. One of the players that I think you would look at, because JoeDeceives can probably improve. I think he had some really good moments actually for Guerrillas last season. If he goes back there, might be a hard time, but yeah, difficult to find SMG talent right now, because pretty much all the best SMGs are locked up on the best teams. So that's when you've got your issues. But JoeDeceives apparently unearthed, or not unearthed, but unboxed this knife from, he was opening some CS cases, and this emerald butterfly knife is worth 17 grand, apparently. So that is very impressive, and that is way more money than I think the entirety of Los Angeles Guerrillas even earned in prize money last year. So congratulations, I guess, to Joe for getting this on, but very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, I mean, dude, like, what the fuck, like... So look at that season. This is fucking insane. 1.37th. Are you fucking kidding me? But look at that season. That's fucking insane.
Look at that miserable COD Champs placement.
1.14, 1.22, 1.3, 1.3, 1.17, 1.23, 1.28, 1.28, 1.2, 1.17, 1.19, 1.21, 1.16, 1.08. They're not fucking with me out here.